Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Josh, for that wonderful angelic choir music. Friday morning on the platform, so it's time for Holier Than Thou. As many of you will know, I like to sullenly collect the names of individuals throughout a week who've been doing public stuff but dodging conversations about those public stuff, public things. So where do you start this week? I think I might start with the Zephyr Cafe. Let's start there. Most of you will be aware that controversial conference took place over the weekend in Wellington. The meeting was called Inflection Point and featured a number of speakers talking about concerns around gender transitioning and transgender culture. Unsurprisingly, the planned event generated plenty of backlash, protests, and a concerted attempt to shut it down from the wokest council in the world, who, by the way, have been busy this week trying to name a man's driveway Te Ara Tarehu, which I think they've been successful in doing. What was surprising, though, is the protest that came out of the cafe inside the conference centre. Zephyr Cafe, in the most ridiculous moral grandstand ever, decided to close its doors to the public for the duration of the event in case they accidentally served a ham sandwich to Bob McCroskey or had to talk to Brian Tamaki. "We don't serve your kind here" kind of comes to mind in this context, and I have to say the decision led to a host of questions I really wanted to put to the cafe and the hospitality company that runs them. Questions like, do you usually refuse service to customers with political views that run counter to those held by your staff or management? If so, how do you gauge those political views before serving them? Is there a questionnaire you need to fill out before you can order a coffee? How do you feel about cycle lanes, puberty blockers? Do you like capitalism? What's your position on offshore oil exploration? And then you can have a latte. In any case, those questions are going to remain unanswered because Zephyr Cafe chose to get political, which is never a good idea for a cafe to do, really, is it? And then run away when we confronted them on it. It's worth noting as well that the cafe set about dealing with deleting all the negative reviews from people who were left hungry by the cafe's closure, and were the subject of an influx of glowing reviews from people who'd never been there, but supported their decision to stop doing their job for a day to virtue signal about social issues. So well done to Zephyr Cafe, they've made the list. Next up is the University of Canterbury Students for Justice in Palestine and their spokesperson, Matt, who wouldn't provide his last name despite leading a protest encampment disrupting the university's public areas. The protest began on Tuesday with a list of demands of the university, including financial transparency around its investments and increasing their scholarship programs for Palestinian students. Now, no one would be interviewed on the protests, so we couldn't ask them whether the information they'd been sharing at their meetings were accurate. The university's executive director, Paul O'Flaherty, said the group had been sharing misinformation about their investments and that the university does not invest in any companies that build or supply weapons and that their tuition fees do not fund their investments. Despite refusing to be interviewed by us, spokesperson Matt, no surname, did come out and say, how can we take Paul O'Flaherty in good faith when he refuses to engage with us? Well, glass houses, Matt, mate. How can we take you in good faith when you won't even tell us who you are, let alone engage with us? So Students for Justice in Palestine and Matt make the list this week. Maybe if you're going to front a disruptive encampment and make a list of demands of a publicly funded institution, you should have at least the guts to say who you are. Just amazing, really. That's a short and sharp Holier Than Thou this Friday.